Thank you for coming out. This is our monthly status update on the Black Forest down there. Hello. We are now working now. Okay. This is our monthly update on our Long Range Recovery Planning Committee meeting. This is an opportunity for people in the community to get some feedback on how we're doing at the subcommittee level. Just want to go over the agenda a little bit as far as how we are going to proceed. I'm going to give some initial administrative comments, and then we're going to have our subcommittee reports. There will be a public comment portion, but I would ask that you hold those questions until we call that after all of our subcommittee reports. We do have some cards that we're going to pass out, so if you are listening to any information that's here and you have a question, please feel free to write that information down. Put your contact information on there too, just in case we aren't able to address all of your questions and concerns, and we'll be able to get back to you. We are also going to have an update from our budget office as far as the financial impact of the fire so far. And other than that, we will go ahead and proceed. I know people are interested in as far as some information with regard to the FEMA disaster declaration. We will not provide a lot of information on that. We are planning on having a meeting on Friday, and that's the state is going to give a lot of the stakeholders a presentation as far as what we are actually going to be eligible for. So I know that question is going to come up, so I just want to be able to preface our comments in the fact that we'll be able to provide some more information after we receive an update from the state. So with that, I want to go ahead and start with some of the administrative notes that we have. What we have created is a Black Forest communications network, and hopefully some of you have been able to receive our emails, but Denise Brill's been very helpful as far as putting together an email information system so that we can pass information out to you. We want to try to use that to be able to provide you access to meetings that we have, and also be able to relay some concerns that you have up to us and address that at the subcommittee level. So that is up and running. As far as for the subcommittees, if you have information that you would like us to pass out and distribute, please send us that information, and we will send that out over our communications network. And we are using the communication network for both county-sponsored and non-county-sponsored events, but they will be clearly labeled. When we talk about county-sponsored events, it'll clearly state it'll be a county-sponsored event. There'll be staff support, those types of things. But there are also a lot of other activities that are happening within the burn area that we want to make sure that people are aware of. And we will do our best to try to help distribute that information over our communications network, but they will not be county-sanctioned events. It doesn't mean that the county doesn't care. It just means that, we have to be very clear on our role as far as the use of resources when it comes to those particular events. So for our county subcommittees, please feel free to send information to us if you need to use our communications network. I do want to go through, and we have on behind me our website. A lot of people want to find out if you have access to the internet, you can go to our El Paso County homepage. We're going to scroll down here a little bit, and you can see right there where it says www.bffassistance.com. If we can click on that, right on that, there you go. Go all the way back down. Click on that, the www.bffassistance.com. A little bit lower. Lower. Getting warmer. Right there. There we go. And this is where we have access to all the information that's going on with regard to the subcommittees, when meetings are going to be scheduled. If you scroll down a little bit more, okay. Right here, most of our meetings, at least for the big committee meeting, we are going to have on YouTube, so people can, I know if it gets really late at night and you're having trouble sleeping, you can watch this meeting again if you want. But we want to make sure that people had access to that. If you go back up to the top, I want to be able to show you something here. It's kind of tough. Can we get that whole thing, move that over so I can read what's on the screen? Okay, go down a little bit lower. I'm looking for our question page. Keep going. Right there where it says, to submit a question, please click here. It's right above that. Click here for news updates. Go over there and click on that word here, right there. This is what we're trying to use. So if you have questions out in the field on any subject, you can click this information. You can put your name and information in there and the question. And what we're doing is we are tracking those questions. We are assigning a tracking number to them. And we were going to farm those particular questions out to the appropriate subcommittee. And you will get a confirmation that your question has been submitted. But our goal is we want to be able to capture and see if there's any trends that we need to be aware of. But we also want to make sure that we're reporting back to you in a timely fashion. So that was the one thing I wanted to show you. If you have online capability, this is the best way to, at any time, use this information and submit questions to us. You can also call us directly and email us directly, but we are all funneling this information to our central agency so that we can track this, and we're going to report back at this committee on a monthly basis to make sure that we're providing timely service. So that was the one thing I wanted to show on this. Okay, with regard to our different subcommittees, we have tried to iron out a lot of our details. So again, Denise has been working very hard to where if we have different subcommittee requirements as far as meetings and everything, just submit that information to us. We will help you schedule the location and provide note-taking capability for that if it's a county-sanctioned event. Okay, now I want to go ahead and jump right into our subcommittee reports, and we're going to start with our Land Development Code Enforcement, and that's Commissioner Heisey's subcommittee, and I do believe he has a designated representative that's going to provide a brief update.
Hi, I'm Bob Buthe. I'm a Black Forest resident, and I'm on the committee. Commissioner Heisey asked me to report for the committee and what we've been working on. We've recognized the difficult times people are having getting things worked through with regional building and that sort of thing, and that was really with our meeting one of the first pieces of business that we really tried to work through. And we've got Craig Dossie here, and he has a lot of information about how he'll be able to assist in Black Forest, at least part of the time, I believe, with some services. And so hopefully that will be of benefit to everyone. The other kinds of issues, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes, but the other kinds of issues that we've talked about is we were recognizing that people were having some difficulty with roll-offs and that sort of thing to be able to get your properties cleaned up. And so we just completed some research there isn't even a handout, but I received it today, where we have some contacts for several companies that will do the roll-offs and have the liners available also. Their rates vary, and I think we can supply that to you through the network, but it generally runs around, looks like $434 for a 5-ton to $350 for, in some places, well, for a 4-ton. And so there's some variety of rates there, but we can get that to you so that you'll have that. The other issues that we dealt with was development services at the county being available for the residents at times that are conducive to business for people that are working and in the forest. And so Craig will be working with that. And then the developmental services staff having a storefront, we did research that, and I know that there's been some discussion among Black Forest residents that, well, Mountain Shadows had a trailer that was available and they would be able to work through issues there. Well, that really wasn't the case. They couldn't do any real approvals or reviews. There were too many other organizations or agencies that had to be involved with that. And so what it really turned out to be, although it had been located in Mountain Shadows for a long time, it really only turned out to be basically a whiteboard with a number that you could contact. And so I wanted people to know that we really did research that, and that's what that looks like. Let's see. Oh, also, there's been some experience with Mountain Shadows that taught us to make sure that there are meeting times and site opportunities authorized on Saturday for inspections. And so that will be occurring. We also are taking a look at policies around non-conforming lots that are sold, and what ability the new purchasers will have to place homes on the lots and how that might work out. It probably will not look the same unless there's a similar footprint. And if you do your own work in terms of cleaning up and you don't want to use the roll-offs, you can get the 6mm liners that are required to get the hazardous waste covered at both Lowe's and at Home Depot, and just have to patch that together. They're 100-foot sheets, but you can patch that together with duct tape if you need more. And there is a need for residents before they can get a wrecking permit. There is a letter that's required to disconnect gas and electric, and so if you have any problems with that, then I think you just need to call and get the gas and electric companies to get those disconnected so you can get your permits. And that's the extent of the business that we've done so far.
Go ahead, Craig, for an update.
Yeah, my name is Craig Dossey. I work for the County Development Services Department. Just in case you're not aware, County Development Services is a separate entity from Regional Building. Our role in the redevelopment in Black Forest, we're going to look at the site plans for any of the reconstruction, whether it's an accessory building or the principal structure. I do have some handouts here today, and instead of going over the handout in detail, just generally what the handout says. It goes over some of the suspensions that the Board of County Commissioners approved that are specific to Black Forest and the recovery effort. A lot of it has to do with non-conforming structures. A lot of it has to do with temporary living arrangements on the site. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. On the back side of that sheet is kind of a list of all the what-ifs that you might have in terms of, like I said, the temporary living arrangements on the site, building agricultural structures, those kind of things. So take a look at it. I think I have 75 copies of it, so feel free to grab one. Really the main purpose of what I want to say today is we are extending our hours to meet with residents. We understand that it's difficult to get down to our office, and we're off International Circle. Sometimes that's difficult to do during normal business hours, and we know all of you still are needing to work and life goes on. So we want to be able to extend those hours. Obviously, we're still available if you come in during our normal hours, which are 7:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, to sit down with you. One of the things that we can do to better help you, especially if you think you're in a non-conforming situation, or maybe you're thinking about changing the location of your house or the size of your house, and you wonder whether or not you're going to have setback issues. If we know what your plan is before you come in, if you want to contact us, we can do the research on your property ahead of time. And my contact information is on the top of this handout, as well as Mike Revenar, who's the other person assigned to look at these permits. If we can do that research ahead of time, we can shorten the time that it's going to take to meet with us. But we are extending our hours to try to accommodate your work schedules. We'll meet with people by appointment as early as 7 o'clock in the morning and as late as 6:30 at night. So if you have issues or you have concerns, or you just want to talk about kind of what your plan is, or maybe you don't know what your plan is and you just want to float some ideas, we're more than happy to meet with you by appointment outside of our normal work hours to try to make it work with your schedule. Again, my contact information is at the top of this, and I can answer any questions, I guess, when we're done as well.
Do any committee members up here have a question in our land development code area?
Greg, I have a question. There's been a couple of property owners that have lots that are less than the present zoning on 5 acres, and they're like 2.5 acres or even less than that. And they express a desire that they're not going to rebuild, and if they sell the land, will the new property owner have to comply with the new zoning in terms of lot size, or are you going to let him build on that old lot size?
There is no definitive answer to that question, because we actually did the research on all of the lots in Black Forest, especially those that are substandard when it comes to acreage in the R5 zone district. And surprisingly, a lot of them have previously approved Board of Adjustment applications that basically legalize the substandard size lot. So I think the instances where you might see truly an illegal size lot are probably going to be very few and far between. There were surprisingly a lot of approvals for dimensional variances to allow lots to continue at the size they were at, and essentially legalized them at the time. And a lot of these were really old that maybe the current residents weren't even aware of. They may not even be aware that they're on a legal lot, and may fear that they're non-conforming. But we do have a list of those, and essentially we're waiting for those individuals to come in so we can break the good news to them, I guess.
Okay, anything further before we move up to cleanup and recovery? Okay, Commissioner Latham.
All right, thank you. I will do my best to give an update on meetings that we've had since this group has come together. There are obviously a number of issues that have been dealt with, so I'm just going to kind of go through a quick checklist. One that came up very recently were the porta potties in the area. We did make a decision to extend those porta potties being out there, excuse me, and available. And so we have absolutely approved that through the end of August, and then we have had some folks come forward to sponsor that even further. So we want to make sure that those facilities are available to folks as long as we can. We did get some word in that there were some concerns about how those were being cleaned and that there were some problems with those. And so our staff went out today and checked every one of them and checked in with that contractor. And we are going to, let me make sure I've got it right here. I've got the information in front of me. We were going to weekly cleanings at the beginning of July, and then they're looking at possibly picking up those number of cleanings. But as of right now, everything has been emptied and cleaned and is ready to go, and we're looking at scheduling twice a week cleaning beginning today. So Am I right on all of that, Kathy? Okay, great. And so we want to keep an eye on that and make sure that we don't have a very, I mean, porta potties are porta potties, but we don't want them to be even worse than sometimes porta potties can be. So we're going to monitor that and keep a very close eye on that contractor. Sandbags. We have sandbags that have been out there and provided to folks, and we just got a message that more sand and 1,000 more bags are arriving tomorrow. And that'll be at 9 a.m. And so along with the sandbags will be information on best practices on how to use those and distribution for those sandbags. Kathy, do you have the exact location on that? I don't have it in here. I can't remember where we had that. If not, we'll get it by the end of the meeting where those were handed out. Okay, so sandbags are still on their way and will continue to be available. Slash mulch. As you all know, we have a great slash mulch facility, and right now our biggest issue is a capacity problem. Obviously, we've just got a huge amount of material coming in and not as much going out. So we've been looking at a wide variety of options to be able to get that material off-site. We actually used some for the county. We went in and took many truckloads off for our own county facilities out at the fairgrounds. We took some out to the new shooting range at the Cheyenne Mountain Shooting Complex. We have partnered with some other folks to go ahead and do the hauling for us, and some went out to Flying W, and we're looking at some other organizations that are looking for mulch as well, to include the possibility of using that as biomass and things like that with some other companies. So we're looking into every possibility that we possibly can for getting that material off-site. I've had questions in the last couple of weeks as to, are you going to close the slash mulch facility? And there is absolutely no plan whatsoever, no discussions, no contemplation to close the slash mulch facility. It is a tremendous facility. We just need to work through the increase in volume out there, which is what we're trying to do. Jill, do you have any update on wells that you can provide? As I'm just kind of going through my checklist, that would be great. If you want to come on up. Sure. I know that last week you had an update, and things change very rapidly around here, so.
So for those of you that weren't at last week's meeting, one of the things that I did report out on, which was a real kind of a benchmark for us, is of the damaged wells, there was 101 wells that we worked with one of the partner agencies, training them to get those capped to protect the aquifers. We did find one more this week that we were unaware of, so we worked with our partner agency to get that one done. Probably where more activity has been happening this week, though, is we're already seeing permitting requests related to the repairs of septics. So that's where we've started to see business picking up for those homeowners that possibly their home is still standing, but their septics were damaged. We're starting to see some work on that, and so we're already getting permitted. And the guys and gals have been out in the field already meeting with homeowners. I'd also like to report out that we certainly are trying to extend the ability to meet with individuals at a more timely occasion for you all, because we know not necessarily can you meet us during our standard business hours, so we've been making appointments to work through that. But again, I just wanted to report out again, because that was a really big concern for us to have those wellheads open. And so we were so grateful that the Baptist Church worked with us, and we did what was called Train the Trainer, and we had teams of 14, teams of 2, and covered all of that in one weekend. So we're excited.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, we also, in our last subcommittee meeting, talked a lot about kind of the next phase. Obviously, these last weeks have been dealing with those emergent issues, dumpsters, porta potties. Now we're dealing with drainage issues and things that we're trying to deal with the sandbags and some other ways to deal with that. Obviously, a big part of that is the forest itself. And we have had a number of discussions about not only, obviously, the aspect of revegetation, but the damage to the forest and how to recover the forest itself. We hope to have a essentially a best practices piece of material that can go out that can provide some guidance on some of that reforestation. Obviously, Judy has a huge amount of knowledge here, and she's got already a great deal of information that we can use to put out some best practices. But in those discussions on how to get that information out, obviously the discussion comes up of kind of the next phase and the role of the county versus the role of the private sector and the nonprofits and the community. And so we've had a lot of discussion about that. And obviously the county is here as an extremely supportive partner in the recovery, but there are things that we cannot and will not do on private property. So private property owners, you've got a piece of property and it is your decision to do different things with that property, to replant right now, to cut down trees or not to cut down trees. And I want to make sure that it's very clear out there, because we've had questions about this as well, that we at the county are not going to come out and tell anybody to cut down their trees on their property. That is something that we have discussed at length, and that is not something that we have the authority or the desire to do. And neither are we going to tell you not to cut down your trees. We know that there will be an issue as we go forward with properties that are abandoned, with properties that, you know, are going to possibly fall into foreclosure, whatever happens. It may be bank owned, but we made policy decisions not to view the trees as, for example, a code violation or something that the county is going to compel action on for at least a year. And so that's just not going to happen. And as we move forward and we do find those properties that may be left unattended, we'll work with those and figure out how we move forward with bank-owned properties and things like that. But as to the care of the forest and how this recovery moves forward on the land itself, so much of this is on private land that we know that groups like Black Forest Together, these are the folks who live there, who understand the land and will work together as a community to help recover, but we're not going to compel anyone to do anything on private property. That kind of a good way of putting that based on our last discussions and what we've come up with from our subcommittee. That does not mean that we just don't go out there and assist. Obviously, we wish to assist. There was discussion about putting together a possible symposium, which might be a great idea to put a lot of different vendors and folks together who could offer different things to property owners. But that is something that will come out of the community group and not the county, because the county won't endorse or sponsor any for-profit vendors. We won't put you as a community in front of for-profit vendors. We'll let them kind of reach out to you. That also brings me to another point that we talked about. As you came into the Disaster Assistance Center after the fire and in all the times since and shared information with the county, we committed that that information was going to be protected, that we wouldn't share your emails and things like that, and we won't do that, although we will send out emails inviting you to contact other groups. And so when we send out an email, for example, inviting you to contact the Black Forest Together group, please do so if you're willing to go ahead and provide them with your contact information, and then they just go straight to you. We won't give that list that we have to any other agencies, but we certainly want to help make those connections. So we really are working through this whole phase of recovery and what the county, the government's role will be moving forward. There is a great deal of talk about FEMA. FEMA money, we did have a presidential declaration come in just a few days ago, and so with that, we'll be having another meeting on Friday to discuss the very specific details about what that means, what the implications are both for the county as the government agency and recovery for infrastructure, and what it means to individuals. And so we'll be working through and sifting through all that FEMA information. We may even talk a little bit about that tonight. So I think I've got committee members up here. Unless there's something else from our committee, we're still working on some best practices to put out there. Anything else from our committee members? Okay. I see at least one in the audience. Okay, great.
Thank you very much. And I did forget that if you do have a cell phone, if you could put that on vibrate, please. My PIO staff is throwing things at me saying, hey, take care of the administrative notes here, please. So the next subcommittee is our community support, and that's Commissioner Sally Clark, and she's not here, but we are going to have a staff presentation a little bit later on to deal with some of the financial matters that will cover some of the areas that she was going to address. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over that one and bring up our Citizen Preparedness Lessons Learned Committee with Commissioner Peggy Littleton.
Good evening. It's such a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I think we've made a lot of progress in this arena, and I've seen some of you at some of our meetings, and want to tell you just kind of give an update of where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going with this. Is Bill Marchant or Pat O'Brien here this evening? Are either one of them here? Okay, I didn't know if they were going to be able to make it tonight or not. They are in charge, and they're going to be the committee chairs for one portion of what we call the survivor advocacy. We're calling this Mentor Connection. And the Survivor Advocacy and Mentor Connection is going to be a group that's going to really hook up and link mentor families from Waldo Canyon with Black Forest fire families. It's an exciting group. We met for the very first time last week. It was on the 18th, a couple weeks ago of July, kind of just outlining what is it that we want the Waldo families to be talking to the Black Forest families about. What are the things to stay away from? How can they make sure to have healthy communication with you? Because certainly some of them are still going through some of the pains of having lost their homes, just like you are. And what's really exciting is we do have a young gal, Clarissa Post, as she's back here, and her sister are going to be working with our teenagers in that arena. Our next meeting that we are going to have on this for the Mentor Connection, if you'd like to find out what were some of the emotional issues that they dealt with that you might be dealing with as well at this point in time that are perfectly normal, but you may think, oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. For them to be encouragers to you, this next meeting is going to be on August the 6th, Tuesday, August the 6th, and you'll be getting an email from us again telling about this information. And it's going to be at La Forêt from 6:30 to 8:30. We're going to have about 10 round top tables where we're going to have some families that want to specifically talk with those families who have elementary age school children. And what does it look like to get ready to go back to school? What kind of issues might the children be dealing with or confronted with in school? Things that parents hadn't even anticipated that their kids might be asked, that were asked by kids, just out of curiosity, not kids trying to be mean or be bullies. But how can you help then prepare your children? We're going to have the teen mentor group for those kids that are going back to high school and possibly even entering college. What does that look like? What are some of the issues and emotions that they had to deal with? We're going to have a variety of different folks there dealing with what does it look like if your house was partially destroyed as opposed to totally destroyed. So we'd encourage you to come. I think it's going to be a really healthy place to be. We have Aspen Point is going to be there, and again, and really putting some good boundaries about what's going to be discussed, and I think it's going to be a healthy place for you to come as we move forward. And we're going to begin seeing if those natural connections are made between the Black Forest families and the Waldo Canyon families. Certainly would not be any of our responsibility, and certainly Pat and Bill do not want the responsibility of assigning people mentors. I think there's always that natural connection that happens. It's kind of a, oh my gosh, we feel like we've known each other all our lives. We've been talking about this. We want you guys to establish those relationships yourself as you begin pairing up and being mentored. The second part of ours for the Small Business Association, one of the beautiful things, and Commissioner Lathan mentioned it just a moment ago, is that we did receive the presidential declaration. And with that comes some funding and options for small business owners to be able to apply for low interest loans, to be able to see if they can get some reimbursement on some of the loss of possible property that they utilized for their business purpose, et cetera. And I'm be putting it together right now with the Pikes Peak Workforce Development Center and also with our Small Business Development Center. And so there will be messages forthcoming on an upcoming meeting. Since we just found out, those meetings are not yet going forwards, but we will. If you'd like to be on that committee, if you had a small business and can help, would like to help chair that committee, co-chair that committee, I would love to have your help. Please come see me afterwards for the Small Business Association. For emergency preparedness, again, with the presidential declaration, the FEMA money that's coming in, the county is certainly doing all it can to do flood mitigation out there in all of the right-of-ways that we have. Again, it can't be necessarily used for extensive purposes beyond that, but definitely so that the sludge during some of the rains that we've been having is not going to be continuing to wash from county property across state property against county property and into private property. And I just saw a perfect example of that today, right, Michelle? We had a wonderful tour this morning with Commissioner Glenn. For our insurance, and insurance is also part of one of our subcommittees of survivor advocacy. We have a great insurance group going, and we've had many meetings and are going to have many more. Our very first meeting was July the 1st, and I think I saw many of you there. We had the Commissioner of Insurance from Denver down. We had 3 different families who shared with you some of their stories, good, bad, different, lessons learned, what would they do. We're going to have a second meeting like that, but we are going to break it down into a round top table discussion. We will have one table that's going to deal with partial loss, one table that's going to deal with total loss. We are also going to have all of the insurance companies, USAA, Farmers, AmFam, et cetera, have their own tables where they are going to have an adjuster and a director from their regional area will be there, along with the Waldo Canyon family that has experienced good things with that particular company and maybe challenges with that particular company. So that as you sit down at that round table with your paperwork, you can walk through going, what does this mean? What does that mean? How did you deal with this? What am I not thinking of that I might need to do with that? And this is not going to be where companies are going to come sell you anything. This is going to be for you go to the table with the insurance company that you already have a current contractual relationship with, okay? It was your insurance company. So that's going to be coming out on August the 10th. You will see that we are going to have that meeting. It'll be from 10 to 12 in the morning, and a place to be determined yet. As of this afternoon, we've not yet firmed that up. We think that it possibly is going to be at the Black Forest Community Center, but we will let you know, and you'll get that email soon. We're also on August the 6th from 6:30 to 8:30 out at La Forêt is going to be the roundtable meeting that we're going to have for the second roundtable meeting. August 6th is going to be at the Pinery from 6:30 to 8:30. Sorry about that. I said La Forêt, but it is at the Pinery from 6:30 to 8:30 on August the 6th. I take that back. So too many meetings, too many places. I know you guys. But how many of you are getting the emails that are coming out from the county? Is anybody getting the emails or texts or finding out about the meetings other than through the paper or social media at all? Would really encourage you to go sign up in the way that Commissioner Glenn has intended for you to do so and directed you, so that you can make sure to know about all the meetings, and if you can't make them, maybe a friend, family, neighbor can make them as well. I think that is all, Commissioner Glenn, unless we had some, are you taking questions later on?
I just wanted to, because we threw out a lot of dates, just want to clarify. So tomorrow there is an insurance meeting too, right?
Yes. Tomorrow evening, August the 1st, is at the Pinery also from 6:30 to 8:30. That is going to be with United Policyholders, and that is their second meeting. They had one on July the 8th. So let me just recap. We've got one meeting tomorrow evening, the Pinery, 6:30 to 8, with United Policyholders to talk about some of insurance issues. We've got a meeting on Tuesday, August the 6th, and that's going to be for Mentor Connection for roundtables. We've got another meeting on August the 10th, and this is going to be, and the August the 6th meeting, where is that? At the Pinery. August the 10th from 10 a.m. to noon is going to be insurance roundtables for you to be able to go specifically sit down at roundtables with the insurance companies and Waldo Canyon families who also had a contractual relationship with that insurance company.
And the only thing I want to clarify on the August 10th meeting, that is a non-county sponsored event because we are bringing in specific vendors for that. That just so that you understand, when we bring in specific companies, we tend to back out from a county standpoint because we don't want to be perceived as advocating one company over the next. But it doesn't mean that people can't participate or people aren't encouraged to participate in those things, but it does limit the county's role in that.
Thank you.
Any committee questions for Commissioner Littleton before we move on?
It's not yet been determined. We think that it's going to be at the Black Forest Community Center, but please just be looking for the announcement that's going to come out from the county on an email regarding that, okay? Or in the paper. I know that the Gazette will probably cover it as well. And it'll be on our website, the Black Forest website, okay?
Okay, we'll move to our next subcommittee, a legislative support update. I don't see State Senator Kent Lambert, but we do have some representatives here. So, oh, there he is. He snuck in.
Thank you, Commissioner Glenn. Actually, this is a day we've been waiting for, the week we've been waiting for, to get some feedback from the federal government as to what has been approved by the executive order to the governor's FEMA request that he sent out on July 9th. I just got a copy of it about 4:30 this afternoon, so I have not had a chance to read it, and I've emailed copies of that to our subcommittee and Commissioner Glenn, also to you. What you may not have is I also had the document about the Royal Gorge fire. The governor's request combined both the Royal Gorge and the Black Forest fire request into one document. So if you haven't seen that one about the Royal Gorge, if I could, if you'd be so kind, if I could impose on you, maybe put all of those documents up on the county website, that could be helpful so that it's all in one place. There are also some supplementary documents about how some of those determinations are made, and not just the what they call the fact sheets themselves, but also some fact sheets about other aspects of the FEMA executive order. Obviously, the next big step for us will be to watch what happens in your discussions on the Friday meeting. We have not had a formal meeting of the Legislative Support Committee yet because we were waiting on that FEMA declaration. However, now that we have that, I've sent out a request of our members to find out when they're going to be available to actually have a meeting. And it looks, I've already gotten some feedback that some of our members are out for about the next week and a half, so we may have to do that about mid-August. But one of the first things we'll be looking for is if the county or other legislative support committee members have requests or ideas for other appropriations that might be appropriate now that we understand what the FEMA baseline is. We'll be putting that as the highest priority for discussion and action. Then there have been a number of different questions or possibilities of ideas that we would have about maybe process improvement, about do we need an aerial tanker fleet? Do we need better command and control? A number of ideas. We want to get to those, but I think the appropriations, either at the federal or state level, if we need additional appropriations, and that seems appropriate, then we'll at least want to put those discussions first. So bottom line is we don't have a firm date for that meeting yet, but we'll be watching what happens in the meeting Friday and then reschedule or schedule the first meeting through Denise Brill with the county.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the Legislative Support Subcommittee up here? Go ahead, Judy.
Does the FEMA grant apply only to the burned area or to the entire Black Forest? Because the hazard mitigation talks about mitigating for against future disasters, and obviously the burned areas may be less of a future disaster than the unburned area.
As I said, I just received it just a little bit before this meeting started, so I can't really answer your question. However, and also, Commissioner Glenn, if you could maybe send or retransmit my emails to the members of the committee so they have that right away and can see what the FEMA fact sheet says in that regard. I did see an attachment that talked about mitigation, but again, I didn't have a chance to read it yet.
We will do that. Thank you. Any other committee questions? Okay, we will move to our Black Forest Foundation Citizens Committee with Eddie Bracken.
As you're probably aware, the committee that Darryl Commissioner Glenn is referring to is Black Forest Together. And we've been meeting once a week up for the last month or so, and we've formulated a series of questions that the county can help us with, and they range from lands development code to mitigation, long-term and forest mitigation, things of that nature. And so last week or several days ago, we decided that since the area of Black Forest is not a municipality in the true sense of the word, it's just a group of citizens up there that is broadly represented across the whole area, we decided to incorporate to give us some legal status with respect to how we can operate in the future for the long-term recovery. So we are going to form first of all, we have to incorporate with the state of Colorado, and then we're going to put an application in for a 501c3 organization that will establish, in essence, a legal entity with the state and well as the feds. We're going to have to solicit some startup funds from the Pikes Peak Community Foundation, and we're going to put something together that will ask for that money because it costs some money to file the IRS application, about $800, website development, and things of that nature. So we'll be coming in with a request to the Pikes Peak Community Foundation for those funds. We set up a website. It's up and running as of this afternoon, and it's Black Forest Together, all one word, .org. And there's not much on there right now, but we're going to populate that, and it's modeled after the Colorado Springs Together website in terms of the content and format. We set up a storefront at the Black Forest Fire Station on Teach Out Road. We're going to man that with volunteers. We have phones in there. We have an internet capability. We have a fax capability. And we're going to man that with volunteers. And we encourage any of the nonprofit organizations like Catholic Charities, Aspen Point, and things of that nature. Crosses for Losses, La Foret will be coordinating, Will Thompson will be coordinating that whole volunteer spectrum, and we want a single face to the customers in Black Forest that have been affected by this fire. Now, we're going to present Commissioner Glenn and the rest of the commissioners a paper tomorrow that we're going to ask them to publicize on their net of people that have been affected by the fire, and it will explain what the mission and the charter of this organization that we're going to form, and we're going to ask people that have been affected by this fire, and there'll be to go to this website that will be put out in the Commissioner Glenn's release through their email list, email format, to go to that website and sign up on that, with your name, your phone number, and all of the other pertinent information so that we can reach out and touch you and help you with whatever need you have in terms of support from the community or whatever, or escalated up higher in the chain. That will be a form that you'll fill out, and then we'll collect that data, and then we'll have a database, if you will, so that we can communicate with the folks that have been affected by the fire. CenturyLink has provided the phone service and the internet capability, much like they did in the Waldo Canyon area. As Peggy said, Bill Marchant and Pat Orban are our lead persons from the Black Forest Together organization to interface with the Waldo Canyon people to get this mentorship program going. And there'll be a meeting, as Peggy said, on the 6th of August that will kick this thing off, and then we'll set up subsequent meetings after that to facilitate and streamline the contacts, if you will, between a person or a family in Waldo Canyon and a similar person in the Black Forest, to help you walk through the trials and tribulations of dealing with insurance companies or whatever as you move down this path and recover your home. Will Townsend from La Forêt is our heading up the volunteer effort, and he's going to coordinate and pull in all of the agencies, hopefully that were represented in Waldo Canyon will also be represented in here, and his contact information will be on the website. And if you want to volunteer, and we already have quite a few folks that have volunteered for this situation, and can help us run this community support center. The community support center in Waldo Canyon was operational for about a year, and we envision a similar length of time that will have to be taken. The fire department, under the leadership of Chief Bob Harvey, will vigorously pursue his FireWise program. They got a CD that they're giving out to everybody, how you mitigate your own personal property. And then they're going to be working with Judy and the rest of Amy's team to work across and get up a set of solutions. You know, there isn't going to be one solution to terms of long-term mitigation of these trees, the black sticks. Some property owners may want to cut them down. Some of them may not want to do that. So we need to have best practices developed so that the homeowners, the property owners themselves, can go and make the decision as to, with regard to how they're going to dispose of the trees and get their property restored to a working condition. Ralph Townsend from La Forêt is co-chairing this committee that we're having in place right now, and it meets, the next meeting is the 7th of August at the fire station. Chief Harvey has generously made that training room available to us, and for lack of a better descriptive, that's our town hall, you know, and Bob Harvey, the chief up there, has really stepped forward on this, and it's a community asset, and he's really stepped forward on it, and I think in our community we need to be very grateful for Harvey and what he's done during the fire, but not also afterwards, and have a great deal of respect for him, as well as the other agencies like Samaritan's Purse and the Southern Baptist Convention, which provided a tremendous amount of support to homeowners. They reached out and touched collectively between the two organizations about 400 homes and helping them recover in terms of site cleanup. And Samaritan Purse is gone. They have worked out their work list. Southern Baptist Convention will be through here to the end of August, I think. We're going to have elections on this incorporation effort that we're setting up, and we're going to probably do that next Wednesday to elect a board of directors and officers for the corporation. You know, as we said earlier on in this discussion, you know, we are a big stakeholder in this process, but we need your help. And there's just so much that the county can do from a legal perspective. They can't go in and for instance, tell the property owners what to do. You know, you need to present best practices, for instance, in terms of reforestation, and educate the population up there in the forest on what approach is best suited for your property. They're going to establish some policy, I believe, on abandoned properties or foreclosed properties, but those things the county needs to deal with, and we need to deal with the rest of it. Finally, Peggy mentioned insurance workshop. That's the approach that we're going to follow in the community. We believe that's the best course of action based on what transpired on Wallow Canyon incidents, and the first one is going to be on the 10th of August, and there'll be the Colorado Insurance, what is that called, Peggy? No. The insurance division from the state of Colorado. They're going to be represented at this insurance.
Yes, and then there's another group as well, but I can't remember the acronym for it.
Okay. But anyway, it's going to be the small independent insurance agencies, the large guys like USA and Farmers and State, and they're all going to be there, and they're going to have senior reps available. We don't want to create an adversarial relationship or confrontation relationship between these organizations and the property owners. We need to work together, and we think that the insurance workshops that we're going to have, more than one, is probably the best way to do that. So, and I think the only other thing that I want to talk about is the regional building. The county, we invite any county agency that wants to come into our little building up there, like Public Health, and I've talked to Mr. Gonzalez, and I think he wants to come up there, and we'll give you phones and internet, and well, CenturyLink is giving it to you, but they're providing the service, and so if you all want to come up there, I think Mr. Gonzalez said he did want to come, and then the other agency we'd like to get presence up there is a regional building, and that's on your topic.
Thank you. Any questions for this subcommittee? Okay, now we're going to get a quick update on our intake. Go ahead.
I'm Travers Hyde, and I work with the El Paso County's Department of Human Services. Last time we had a meeting, I think I had reported on the Disaster Assistance Center numbers. They have not changed since we did shut that down on July 3rd. We did get to visit with 1,816 families in that 3-week time period. Currently, right now, I am the guy on the other end of your BFF assistance question and requests, and I field your questions out to all the subcommittees to get an answer for you as soon as possible. I will respond to you as soon as I get your emails and let you know that we are working on it, and we will handle it as quickly as possible. As of July 15th up to today, we've only had 5 questions or requests. So, in fact, I think the webpage is still up. If you have a question about anything, no question is a bad question, please submit it so that we can answer it for you, no matter how, just any question, just unusual, anything, just send it to us, and we will take care of it immediately for you. Other than that, that's about it for me.
And can you address, we are going to reactivate the phone number because we realize that not everybody has internet access out there. So we temporarily suspended it for a while because I personally called it and was in a loop for 38 minutes, and that was totally unacceptable. So we suspended it for a while. I think we've worked out the bugs, and that number is going to be 444-8301.
That's correct.
And you will actually be in contact real time with the intake person so that we can direct your question to the appropriate agency. So I just wanted to let you know that we did have a little bit of a technical problem, but we will be publicizing that number again to make sure people are aware that if there are questions, and it doesn't matter what it is, we will take that question and farm it out to the appropriate committee, log it in, and then get it back to you, and make sure that we follow up with that. and that's 444-8301.
And the hours of operation for that are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. So there'll always be someone there that'll pick up the phone.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Can I make a correction? I just got an email, and so far I wanted to let you know at this point in time for the meeting on the 10th of August for the insurance groups. We currently, it sounds like, Eddie, just so you know, they have secured State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, USAA, AmFam, Liberty Mutual, Safeco, and then we're also having the RMIIA that I can't remember exactly. It's the Rocky Mountain Insurance something Association that's going to be there, along with Doug Dean, who's the interim commissioner of insurance for the state of Colorado. They wanted to have me let you know that actually all of the insurance agents have committed to be there from 9 to noon. So if you can't make it, at 10 or 11, those roundtables will continue to just be open. You can come join at any time. So they realize they may have a lot of people there, and so we're going to keep funneling people in through to the tables. So between 9 and noon on the 10th, and once we know the location, we'll let you know that. Don't feel like you have to come for the entire 4 hours. Or the 3 hours from 9 to noon, but you are certainly welcome there for any portion of that to get some of your questions answered.
Excellent. Thank you.
We will certainly do that now that you suggested and recommended that. Her question was, will we have a table there for people who their insurance folks will not be there? I think that's going to be really good so that we can help someone help and assist you just with general insurance questions. So maybe Doug Dean, our interim our commissioner of insurance for the state, could help sit down and walk with you through that. And that's where we'll also have a table for people who potentially were, uninsured. We'll talk through some of the issues there. People can communicate with one another. Waldo Canyon had some of those as well. How did they move forward? What were best practices they'd recommend to you? And then also for those who had partial loss as well.
Okay, moving on. Is Nicholas Sapp here for our financial update? If not, we will skip her and have her come back. Okay. All right, this is the portion of the agenda where we would talk about any policy issues that come up during our subcommittees. The one policy issue that came up that we are still investigating is whether or not regional building is actually going to assign a person to be out co-located with the storefront that Eddie Bracken had mentioned. And I don't know if we have an update with that right now or whether or not we're going to have to provide that at a later date.
No, that's just being worked through now. I'm not exactly sure, unless Bob's aware. Bob Graham.
Well, how this works is if there's a policy issue, it just depends on which board has to decide that. For example, there could be an issue that the Board of County Commissioners has to actually address, and it has to be properly agendized. The board would make a decision and then send that decision down to us. Because regional building is a multi-jurisdictional agency, it requires more than just the Board of County Commissioners to weigh in on that decision. So we will get an answer back for you. Okay. Moving on to other announcements, the one thing I do want to announce is that on August 22nd, and I believe that is going to be at 5:30 to 7:30 right here, we are going to start our first series of what we're going to have a town hall. It's specifically devoted to lessons learned. I am completely committed to having several meetings where we're going to sit up here and we want to listen and find out what went right, what went wrong, and what are the things that need to be changed. And we're going to space those out probably every 3 or 4 months. The goal is to be able to do a lot of fact-finding, and then at the 1-year point, we want to be able to produce a document that we can, one, learn from as a community so that we don't have to recreate the wheel on some of these areas, but also we want to be able to capture best practices, and if there are policy initiatives that the various agencies need to actually go forward and conquer, we're going to have those documented so that we actually have a working document that we can do that. So August 22nd, right here, from 5:30 to 7:30 will be our first kickoff for our lessons learned. And I do want to preface that we're going to listen during this particular session. I know people are going to have a lot of opinions, and they're going to want the answers, but our goal for these sessions is to, one, to listen to you. We want to document those concerns, and action items are going to come out of that meeting where I'll probably task several of the subcommittees to go back and research those things. I know people have a lot of opinions as far as like response times, you name it. But this is your opportunity for, and this board is completely committed to listening to you, finding out what we can do to make sure that, because we're becoming national experts in this area, and I think it's important that we capture a lot of these good things that have happened too. I mean, there are good stories that we need to make sure that we tell, but there are also things that we need to make sure that we focus in on and educate people that in the event that they find themselves in a situation like this, they have a game plan that we can actually pick up and actually go forward with. So we will publicize that some more. Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to give a quick update on something I reported on. I do have the information now that beginning tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the sandbags will be located at the Crosses for Losses at the southwest corner of the Black Forest and Shoup. So that's where you can find those sandbags tomorrow morning. Also, as it relates to the policy question and the storefront, we will probably, related to the health department, have to take that question to the health board and see what they think about that, just because of putting a staff member out there for any period of time. And so I'll work with Jill to coordinate that. And I don't think our meeting is for a couple of weeks, so we can actually do something possibly even via email with the board and a noticed kind of thing, or work through that process on a policy question there.
Commissioner Littleton?
Thank you. I had a question come up to the table. People are wondering for the
Hold on. We're going to hold those until we get to the Q&A.
Oh, this was just regarding can people email questions for the August 1st or August 10th meeting for insurance meetings?
We're still going to hold that question.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, what we are going to do now is we're going to open it up to our public comment portion. And if Nicholas Sapp shows up, we will pause because we do want to be able to provide that financial update. Denise Brill is going to walk around, and if there are cards, we also have 2 microphones here. Please speak clearly into the microphone, and we will go ahead and try to start addressing your questions. And we will now start with that question.
As far as emailing questions, the August 1st meeting and the August 10th meeting, I would say that you probably would get the most out of the meeting most out of that by being present, as opposed. I don't think we'll have questions that are emailed that are going to be answered at those meetings, especially the August 10th meeting. That's really going to be very personal between you and your insurance company with whom you have a contractual relationship. Certainly, if you do have a question regarding insurance, I know that Travers will be happy to get the email traffic regarding that at www.bffassistance.com. And if he cannot answer them, we will make sure that we get it to the appropriate professionals to have that question answered.
Thank you. Okay, we will start with however you guys want to handle this. Whoever wants to stand up, raise your hand. If you have a question, please stand up so that the microphone can find you. And please state your name.
Hi, everyone. I have just a general comment and information, if that's okay. My name is Claire Lise Post. My sister Elizabeth and I are the founders.
Why don't you come on up front so people can see you?
Okay. All right, public speaking.
Hold the mic close to your mouth.
Okay, my name is Claire Lise Post, and my sister Elizabeth and I are the founders of Side by Side, which is a support group for teenagers affected by the Black Forest and Waldo Canyon fire. My family and I lost our home last year in the Waldo Canyon fire, and we were also evacuated when the Black Forest fire came within a mile of our home. So having been through these experiences, we understand how difficult the recovery process can be. The purpose of our group is to provide emotional support and resource information through meetings, mentoring, and special events. We have a Facebook page set up, and we're also trying to get in contact with families and the media and different agencies. We're also getting in touch with different resources that can help specifically teenagers and young adults. most importantly, we understand how important it is for teenagers and young adults to have a community and to realize that they're not alone. My group hopes to be able to support this, this information in this community. So if you would like to contact me, my number is 719-330-6228, or you can look us up on Facebook. It's Side by Side in Colorado, or for Colorado. So we're getting all that information up there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for doing that, too. Next question, if you could stand up, please.
Hello, first, I'm Mike Calise of Black Forest, longtime resident in the Wildwood Village area. I wanted to thank Senator Lambert and the other honorable commissioners for continuing this forum for everyone. I sent a special email and question to Commissioner Glenn and to Commissioner Heisey regarding the issue of property abandonment in the burn areas. They are very aware of that issue, but I think the abandoned properties and the cleanup effort, for which there's been a tremendous response thus far, affect everyone. I'm one of the lucky ones that survived the fire with my home undamaged. But as a very strong supporter of the community, it affects all of us. It's a very tragic thing that we still are dealing with. So I would like to ask the county commissioners, Senator Lambert, everyone, can we please develop a policy and a date for that policy, a deadline, if you will, to impose some kind of a property cleanup, if not by the property owner, by a responsible party. And this is where the county commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners, may have to make a very complex decision on how we can do that and fund that. So my question is, will we have a policy and a deadline for property cleanup, especially where the property owners have not shown an incentive to do so?
We'll probably tag team this. I know I'm going to have some comments, and Commissioner Latham will probably, and Craig Dossey will probably have some too, but it's a real concern that we have. But I think first, as a community that has gone through an incident like this, we first want to reach out to these particular property owners and find out if there's something from an emotional support standpoint that we can do to be able to help them get through that. Because you got to understand, there are two types of classifications of people that are going through this process right now. People, one, that are ready to go, are already starting to pull permits and do those types of things with the recovery. But then there are people right now that are still starting the early grieving process. So we need to be sensitive to that. So you might come in contact with somebody that has lost everything, doesn't have insurance, and they're going to tell you that they're going to walk away. But you might be talking to them at a very difficult moment in time. That difficult moment in time might change in a week or so. That difficult moment in time might change in the event that they had access to some sort of counseling or other support group. So we have to be very sensitive to that, but be aware that don't take things not necessarily at face value. Now, the county, we do have a process in place. We did put a rule out there essentially allowing a year to be able to look at things, and we're essentially we're requiring people to have some sort of activity that shows that they're rebuilding. But we never relinquish our right to, at any point in time where we determine that there's a health and safety issue within the community, that we can step in and do something. So that will be my input, and I'm sure that my colleagues will chime in if I missed anything.
I think you covered it very, very well, and I would note that based on what Commissioner Glenn just offered, I don't have a lot of information on it, but when I left the office this afternoon, Commissioner Clark told me that she was working on some more funding for some mental health counseling for folks who are struggling mightily, and we know that that exists, and we want to be able to provide that assistance. But as it relates to abandoned property specifically, we did not address that in our land development code suspensions, I guess we could call them. We took more of a look at recovering people who we wanted to help them become whole again. So what I will do is go back to our legal team We've got just a great legal team, and I can go right back to them and say, hey guys, I need you to start developing some things for us to think about and to consider for properties that we know, let's just take this as a 1-year time frame, that at the end of the first year, we're going to have abandoned properties. We just know that. And maybe I'm wrong, and that would be a great thing, but right, we'd love to be wrong, but I'm not so sure we will be. So what should we be considering for those abandoned properties, which will likely at that point be owned by a bank, and it'll take time for them to go through that process to be owned by a bank, or however that will evolve. What should we be looking at for that, for moving forward? And we'll work with our legal team and with our development services staff and begin to take a look at that policy. You got it. I will take that to them and we'll work through that.
Yeah, and I think from a development services standpoint, you know, we want to be sensitive to the fact that not everybody's going to move at the same pace. You know, and again, after a year, you know, we'll take a look at those properties and see what kind of progress is being made. You know, not everybody is coming to this with the same resources or the same abilities. So, you know, from a code enforcement standpoint, you know, we want to be very sensitive to individual situations. Obviously, at some point, you know, there is no owner left other than maybe the bank, and we do have a process in place to deal with that situation. But the direction we've received is, you know, try to work with individual property owners on cleanup and encourage that kind of action, rather than, you know, coming down with the hammer on them. Try to work with them, because not everybody's in the same situation.
Excellent. We don't have you on a microphone, but I appreciate that. We are going to temporarily suspend the public comment because our budget officer is here. We do want to provide that brief financial update.
Good evening. My name is Nicola Sapp. I'm the county budget officer. I'm kind of doing a tap dance on the stairs. Is this where everybody stands, or?
Only people that want to fall.
I can come up here. I think they're working on trying to get this on the overhead if possible. But I have a very brief presentation that I have with members of the committee, and this is really to cover 3 components related to the Black Forest fire. At this point, things are still preliminary. We do have, on some of the incident costs, we do believe for the El Paso County, we're getting very close to getting all the costs. But just to go through, there's really 3 pieces that I want to talk about. First is the total cost of the incident. That all is coordinated through my office with the FEMA folks that are with the state of Colorado. And the second piece is what funds the county currently has available to us. And then the third piece is really the El Pomar funds, and it's my understanding that there are a lot of questions surrounding that. So if I can, I'd like to speak to, first of all, the state federal incident, oh great, thank you. This is much better. The state federal incident cost, the most recent cost that we've received is just over $10 million. And what that really encompasses, that's all of the type 1 team costs. That's all of the helicopters coming in, that's all of the big planes coming in, dropping everything, that's all the resources, all the hot shots coming in, all of that. So that's really the initial incident cost, and the bulk of that cost was incurred within the first 7 days, if not the first 4 to 5 days. So that's just to give you an idea of what all of those resources, what all of those resources come to. That is actually a 75-25% split, and what that means is generally the feds will cover 75% of that, and that usually then requires a 25% match at the local level. Since this was passed on to the state almost immediately, the state is actually going to cover that 25% out of their state fire fund. So really the county is not locally incurring any of those costs as it relates to the initial incident $10 million cost. However, the costs that we are currently compiling are our incident costs, and this includes hard costs and soft costs. So let me give you an idea of what a hard cost is actual overtime that we would have to pay deputies who were working during this incident, or if there were certain services that we had to purchase, certain items that we had to purchase during the incident. These are items that are associated with that. This would take into consideration, because as I'm sure you've heard at these meetings, there's extensive resources from the county in not just assisting at the incident command post at Pine Creek High School, but there's the Emergency Operations Center that is also manned, and there's a Disaster Assistance Center. So where you have soft cost, for example, that would include, let's say my time. So my time spent during that incident, going and putting the hours in, even though there were, I think the first day 20 hours, and then we worked like 14-hour days plus after that. I am paid the same salary no matter what. So that's a soft cost to the county, but that's my time redirected specifically to the incident. So this includes hard, soft, and soft cost. And this is something that we're collecting. This will still be a moving target. We are not completed with this dollar, but that's about $1.5 million. And that is actually very, very close to what it cost us for the Waldo Canyon fire. That was about $1.4 million, so very close so far with those two incidences. If I could get the next slide on that. Do we have an overhead or a slide? There it is, thank you. So those are the costs as we see them. So what are the available funds to us? There is the FEMA reimbursement. So what will occur, for example, we know that FEMA is covering 75% of that $10 million, and the state is going to cover the other 25% of that. So then in looking at the $1.5 million, that's the same 75-25% split, but it's very complicated, if you will, in how much of that $1.5 million is actually qualified reimbursable costs through FEMA. So for example, the resources that we put into the Disaster Assistance Center, that is a county service that we've provided to our citizens that is not defined under FEMA. None of the costs associated with that are actually reimbursable. That is something that your county has done for the citizens. That's not something that's going to be reimbursed through FEMA. The costs that we have associated with the incident command post, most of those are going to be reimbursable at the 75%. And then our Emergency Operations Center, that's a little tricky because there's very few costs of those that are reimbursable, but the rest are all borne by the county. And there are no indirect costs or soft costs that are reimbursable by FEMA. It's only hard costs and only specific hard costs. So at the end of the day, I will venture to guess that out of that $1.5 million, probably about somewhere between $350,000 to $400,000 will actually be qualifiable for reimbursement, and then it's 75%. So to give you an idea, on the Waldo Canyon fire, we incurred $1.4 million, but the amount that was actually reimbursable through FEMA was about $195,000. That's how much the county's getting back. So the rest is being absorbed locally by the county. And that's a very lengthy process. We have not yet received our check from FEMA for the Waldo Canyon fire. So those costs that we actually will get reimbursed for, the county's really floating those funds, if you will. We won't see that reimbursement for anywhere from 12 to 18 months, I would say. The executive order given by the governor actually granted us a small state grant, and that is going to cover the cost of the fire recovery manager that is dedicated to the Black Forest fire and other related costs associated with that. And even though the state provided us a grant, they needed to utilize a small portion of that. So we're still determining what that exact amount is going to be, but it's probably going to be somewhere around $150,000. That does not mean that fire recovery manager is being paid that. That fire recovery managers is being paid a very small portion of that, but there are other operational costs associated with that. Excuse me. The third pocket is the El Paso County Fire and Flood Mitigation and Recovery Emergency Fund. Of course, after Waldo, we identified that this was going to be something. We knew that even though only a portion of that fire was in the county boundaries, if you will, county jurisdiction, the rest was on city and then on federal lands. But as a result of that, we knew that we were going to have, that we anticipated extensive flooding. It wasn't a matter of if, but when, flooding in the scar and burn area. And we were also very concerned because we did anticipate that it was going to be another very difficult fire season. So in preparation of that, the county commissioners established a $1.5 million recovery emergency fund. And what I've got here is those funds are not yet utilized because we are still compiling all the costs and needs that we are going to see out there. And then it's my anticipation that those are going to far outweigh the funds that we have available. And then the commissioners are going to have to prioritize those. If I could have the next slide. Excuse me. So the $1.5 million, excuse me, is comprised of some state funds that we still had left over from the prior incident. Regional Building Department was actually kind enough to provide us a donation of, excuse me, $200,000. The Waldo Canyon FEMA funds, about $195,000, we're throwing that back in the mix. So instead of us reimbursing those departments for those costs that we incurred last year, they just absorbed it, and we're throwing it to the mix for this year. And then the commissioners already had a $500,000 emergency reserve established, so we're utilizing that and recognizing that we would need more than $500,000. We actually dipped into our operational savings by another $500,000, and so those two total, total $1 million. So we're right at about $1.5 million in that. And if I could have the next slide. Are there any questions related to that funding before I get into the El Pomar money? Okay, with that, we were contacted by El Pomar almost immediately within the incident, and myself and the county administrator had a conference call with the board members with El Pomar, and they outlined to us that they wanted to provide a one-time funding. They could not issue the funds directly to the citizens, but they really wanted these funds to have an immediate impact and for the citizens to be able to receive these funds immediately for those that are displaced, those that are, and during this time frame, of course, several of us that were evacuated did not know whether the status of our homes at that time. And so they wanted to provide, they were very specific that they wanted to provide some immediate needs over a 2-day period. And really the core needs that you would have if you're displaced: food, shelter, clothing, those types of things. So based on the conversation that we had with them, we went back that same day, and myself and my team drafted kind of guidelines, if you will, for the team and the staff members at the Disaster Assistance Center that outlined that if you were displaced and you needed assistance, that you were eligible for funds for lodging, for food. We established an amount per pet, whether it was a large animal or a small animal. And if you had children, there was additional needs that you may need. For example, if babies, you may need diapers, that type of thing. And we went through kind of a laundry list, if you will, of travel needs, travel, if you will, rental car, that type of thing, whatever. We went through a laundry list of those, and then what we did is we established these guidelines, and then one of the divisions within my department actually was located at the Disaster Assistance Center and interviewed those citizens who we identified had specific immediate needs that needed to be addressed. They met with them, they went through a minor interview process, and based on that, they said, this is what you qualify for, and they actually wrote them a check right there on the spot that they were able to go cash and get those immediate needs addressed. In addition to the El Pomar, obviously they provided $250,000. First Bank donated $5,000 for the same purpose, and Springs Church donated $2,500. And if I could get the the next slide. As of July 31st, and I don't think we've really actually issued any payments in the last week or so, there was $207,142 was actually provided directly to citizens through the Disaster Assistance Center from these funds. This served 228 households, 469 adults, 198 children, and 815 animals. So it was very far-reaching. El Pomar has been very pleased with this. They felt like they were really able to provide an immediate impact and immediate relief to the fire survivors. And from there, we have some remaining funds, and we'll be discussing with them and entertaining how some ideas on how those can further be provided to the citizens. Some of the items that the team who was really interfacing with many of the fire survivors through the Disaster Assistance Center have brought to my attention and recognized that, you know, some of the immediate needs were met, but now school's going to be starting, there's going to be school supplies, winter is going to be coming upon us, and depending on the situation, you know, winter coats, that type of things, that's where they really are trying to have some foresight on where they think some needs are going to crop up with the citizens. And of course, that's all to be discussed with the county commissioners and with the and with El Pomar as to, you know, if they're in agreement with how the remaining funds will be expended. And I think that wraps up my presentation. That's it. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. We will now open it up again for questions.
Judy has a question.
What does the forest, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm curious as to what the, what do they call him here? The fire recovery manager at the state level, what does he do?
Well, this is the fire recovery manager here. It's not a state position.
Oh,
it's
okay.
the state provided a grant to us to have the fire recovery manager. So those that you've probably interacted, it's Kathy Russell.
Okay.
I don't know if you've interacted with her. She was with our.
So she's the fire recovery.
Yes, and she's.
Wave, Kathy.
Wave,
There you
Kathy.
go.
There's Kathy. So she is actually right now dedicated to the Black Forest Fire.
Before everybody leaves, I want to let you know I've got an update that the sandbags will be coming in tomorrow, but we've got volunteers going out to fill them. So they're asking that folks come out at 10 a.m. on Saturday to pick them up because the volunteers need time to get them ready. So that's just a quick update on the sandbags.
Okay, sir, you have a question in the back?
Yes, I do. This is in reference to the Black Forest Together, and I appreciate what you're trying to do for the community. I've lived here for 14 years. I absolutely love it. I'm proud to be a Black Forest resident. But my Black Forest is located in unincorporated El Paso County, and I want to keep it that way.
I think this is in reference to the to talking about incorporating, and I think, Eddie, what you were talking about is incorporating your group, not Black Forest. That would require a vote of the people.
Is that a Black Forest incorporation or just your group, sir?
No, this is not incorporating Black Forest. That's a dead issue, okay?
Thank you very much.
We tried about 3 years ago when I went down in flames. We got to incorporate the 501c3 and, you know, to legitimize that thing. So you can put your fears to rest.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Sharon Kessler. I've been a Black Forest resident for 43 years. I have a new question. The flash flooding, I have been decimated twice in a row. Is there going to be any assistance of any kind for us? We hired a contractor the first time. We got wiped out 10 times worse on Monday.
Well, we definitely want to make sure that we get your property information so that we can specifically look at your address. But
My address is where the Stage 3 Command Center was when the fire started. We said, take our back 3 acres and do whatever you need to do. But where is anybody now?
right. Let's make sure we get your contact information so we can talk to you directly offline. There's a question up here in front. Oh, what? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Barbara Hoffman. I'm going to ask the same question I ask at every meeting, and that's about a calendar, because I only heard about this meeting on the news today, and yeah. And also, like, August 6th, you have a meeting August 6th. That's the national night out thing, and our neighborhood is having a meeting at the Black Forest Fire Department, a special neighborhood night out, national night out. And so we either find out about things after they're over, or there's 2 or 3 things going on one day. There's 3 and 4 things every week. It's really, I don't know why it would be so hard to have some kind of community page with a calendar and it's just the luck of the draw. I mean, you sign up for all these emails, you get some, you don't get some, you try to keep in contact with people. It's really difficult. So same question,
Sure.
different time.
Well, one of the things we are trying to do, if you have online capability, now we are trying to really publicize the fact that you can go to our El Paso County page right here that we pulled up at the beginning of the meeting and list all of the different subcommittee meetings, dates, times, locations there. If you don't, we're also going to try to rely on the Black Forest Together to help us promote these particular things. And if you have access to email, if you want to get on our email list, feel free to contact Denise right back there. We'll give you your information and we will sign you up so that you will get a direct email for that. I understand that, but from the county standpoint, we are not even going to try to wrangle all these things together. We can only be responsible for the meetings that we can control from a county standpoint, but there are a lot of people that are wanting to step up and just throw their name in the hat and say, hey, I'm willing to do something, and we want to encourage that, but we can't really tell them when and they can hold their meeting. But we can try to do the best we can to publicize that.
So the meetings are listed at www.elpasoco.com, and those are the county meetings that we have planned. And we, like Commissioner Glenn said, we do our best to keep up with what's out there. But those are the county meetings. You had a question?
I had a question about the flooding, and is the county planning on doing anything to help with the flooding? Or are we kind of on our own after our 3rd flood?
The quick answer is yes. We're kind of limited on what we can do depending on where the flooding occurs. For example, we were out there looking at some damage to private roads today, and it's a very difficult situation when you have some damage on some private roads because the county does not maintain those roadways. But it's amazing how generous this community is, because I was sent some pictures the other day of some damage that occurred on a private road, and there were individuals that could actually stand in the crevice of this particular road. You went out there today, and a company, and I'm going to allow people to specifically address that, had already filled that particular roadway. And those are some of the community things that I really want to emphasize, because we can only do so much as a county. We're not trying to grow another government program. And we have to be very careful on trying to reach into an area when we start talking about repairing private infrastructure. We are limited and we cannot do that. Now, if it's a health and safety issue, we can talk about that, but it's really a bigger issue. We're going to have to start talking about a regional stormwater effort, just like with Waldo Canyon. This is only the tip of the iceberg, so we're going to have some tough discussions here in the future on how to handle this, because things have changed. And we need to address this as a community.
I could add to that just very quickly. And we've seen this through Waldo, but with Waldo, when that happened, there was an assessment done of the land to decide where the new drainage was going to be, where the pour points were along Highway 24 and into the city and all of those things. That assessment, of course, takes time, and there's work being done right now in Black Forest to do a similar type of assessment. NRCS is Natural Resources Conservation Service, and they are essentially they fill the gap between public and private. So they are, and I think we're actually going to talk with them a little bit on Friday. Is that right? They're part of the FEMA discussion? So there are possibilities for them to come in and help with some of that with the private property side, so they can fill that gap and kind of help where there is a private road or a private driveway, for example, where we've had situations where the county can't go in and rebuild a private driveway, but NRCS can help with funding to do that and can help bridge the gap between the county and private property owners. So we are working with NRCS. It's just going to take some more time to get that assessment done.
Any other questions? We're going to take questions up until 7:25.
I won't be that long. I'm Chuck Harris, and I haven't started clearing anything yet, but we have a lot of black sticks. And I'm wondering just if anybody's addressed the idea of the lumber and where it might be going, or how we can cooperate with others that are doing the same thing, so we don't have to look it up ourselves, find out where we're going with it, that kind of thing. Is there any central effort to get rid of the lumber?
Hi, I'm Mia with Black Forest Mill. What we're doing is we're going out to properties and taking your lumber for free off your property. And if in turn, if you'd like a bookcase, a mantle, just a little keepsake from your lumber, we will make that for you at a very low cost, because we're going to charge you for the labor, but not for the wood. So I have cards, and if anyone is interested in getting some of your trees off, we're not going to cut them or debranch them. We'll remove them for free. You're going to have someone else cut them and delimb them. And then we'll come out, make an appointment with you guys, and try our best. Now, we can't take all the trees. Unfortunately, we don't have all that space, but we're trying to work with the community and give back to Black Forest if you want your wood back for whatever, molding, trim work. So that's what we can do. And I'll be here for a little bit with cards if you guys want some information.
Judy?
Well, as long as we're talking about that, Greenleaf Forestry and Wood Products does the same thing. They have a sawmill in Westcliff. It's the outfit that decorated the R&R Cafe, if you've been in there. And I work with Len Langford on that. He will also pick up the trees, but they need to be cut to specific lengths. There's an advertisement in the Black Forest News if you wish to contact them.
I would also note that in our subcommittee, we've been talking about this very thing, and we've got some pretty great ideas coming forward about helping, not only just with the removal, but with cutting as well. This is going to be a long-term process, so there are definitely some really great ideas out there that we're vetting. And Eddie, I know that came in front of Black Forest Together, and a lot of that is probably going to live with Black Forest Together as they look at some of these proposals to help with some of this. But again, it's a matter of what each private property owner wants to do.
Next question in the back.
Yes, my name's Ed Busby, and I live at 8680 Shoup Road, and we're also having a problem with the flooding. Today we had 1.5 inches rain, and it washed down into our property from our neighbors. That NRCS, is there some way we can get a hold of them? Is there some phone number or website?
If you leave us your information, we'll provide that to you.
Okay,
They're listed under the U.S. Department of Agriculture in the phone book.
And I already see Craig working it with the iPad here, so in moments we will have that for you.
Yes, the FEMA programs, one of the FEMA programs that will become available to the Black Forest area is something which is going to be called a crisis counseling program. And since that's going to be debriefed to you on Friday and such, my name is Gerald Albrecht, and I'm with Aspen Point, and we are the selected provider agency to help provide that service. Now, we are the same agency that has provided that service for the Hayman Fire 10, 11 years ago, as well as Katrina response locally, as well as the Waldo Canyon Fire. I just wanted to say that you'll be hearing more information about that, and this is not therapy. This is not mental illness. This is crisis stuff. So you're going to hear about us. We're going to be associated and be in place not only at Black Forest Together, but we're going to be working with Crosses for Losses as well as other agencies. So you're going to be seeing blue shirts with logos, and we're there to support. You'll hear more about it later, but I wanted to introduce myself And if you have questions or you know somebody who's in immediate need, please come and speak to me. Thanks.
Craig, I'm sorry, Kathy hit it first, but you've got the microphone. Go ahead.
I have the website. The NRCS website is www.co.nrcs.usda.gov. And if you go on to their website, you can click on the Contact Us link. And the Area 3 office is located in La Junta. That includes Colorado Springs. They also have field service centers. The phone number in the La Junta area office is 719-384-5408. But I would note that their website also has a lot of very useful information when it comes to soil and soil conservation. So, as you look at disturbing your soil and rebuilding, there's a lot of useful information on that website as well.
I would also note there's also a gentleman by the name of Greg Langer with whom we've been working very closely for Waldo. He has a local address, and his number is 632-9598. That's Mr. Greg Langer with NRCS here locally. He is working on the Waldo fire, and I know can answer some questions and help direct you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Kathy.
I think the local office number is also 473-7104. 473-7104. That's for NRCS.
Commissioner Glenn, could we put all those on our website for reference? Thank you.
Because I'm already lost. So we'll make sure that we send something out so that you have that information in one place. And then eventually there's a couple questions over here, so we're going to make our way over there. But you have the microphone, sir.
Thank you. I'm Jess Neal. I was wanting to, my question's about the slash and mulch area. It has a finite operating season. Is that going to be extended? Can it be extended for a little bit longer since this is kind of a special case here to help everybody clear their property up?
It's a great question. We have not spoken to them about extending their season, but we will. So that's some homework, and I will bring that back very shortly. I'll take that back to them and find out. Right now, we've just been dealing with the capacity issue. Thank you, sir. I'll check that. Okay, I'm going to go here, and then we'll go back here.
Hi, my name's Jeanette Haver. We were at the corner of Swan and Ravine. We lost everything. We had to get a permit to have the demolition and cleanup performed. In our insurance policy, the demolition and cleanup is part of the house coverage, or there is this other pot of money you can use for ordinance of law. And I'm curious if there is a number or something I can give the insurance company to say, hey, since we had to have a permit, this is required by El Paso County because we had to have it inspected after it was done. Can I get that information so I can go back to the insurance company and say, hey, this should come out of this pot of money and not this pot of money?
Those are perfect questions, again, to get to Travers as well. And, if you have friends and neighbors that have similar questions, Travers would then route those to, for example, Bob Croft from Regional Building, who's going to talk about that, and be able to answer those things online as well.
Yes, well, we'll be happy to provide you documentation so that you can give it to your insurance company that a permit and inspections are required for the work that you just described. Now, from what source that money comes from, I think that's between you and your insurance policy. But if you, and I'll give you a card, if you just send me an email and tell me exactly what you want, then I'll email you back and give you the adopted ordinance by the El Paso County that says permits and inspections are required for that type of work. Thank you.
In the back, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Carla with Colorado Industrial Recycling. I'm a 13-year Black Forest resident, and our company is helping our neighbors get the value out of the metal that was left behind in the fire. We have been very blessed. District 20 has been very generous and allowed us to use their parking lot at Edith Wolford Elementary School, or the school. Unfortunately, now that school's getting back in session, they've had to have us move our containers out of the parking lot. So we are in need of a large location where we can stage our containers as we're helping the homeowners get the material from their property. We have Mr. Ken Harris, who's allowed us to use the Black Forest lumber location, and it's unfortunately a very small area. So what we would like to do is reach out to someone that may know in the area where there's a large location that we can stage our containers. We have been very good about repairing anything or cleaning anything up. We are wondering if maybe, I don't know if the county there is a facility on the corner of Milam and Shoup that has a big parking area in there. We are wanting to find out if maybe we can talk to the county about using that area as we're staging our containers. And we're just trying to keep the material safe so when we're picking it up from the Black Forest residents' properties that it stays in the container and no one is out trying to steal it. So that's what my question is, if anybody knows of someone that would be able to help us find a location, or if we can talk about that location at Black Forest and Shoup.
Well, from the county standpoint, if we could get your contact information, we'll research that and get back to you.
That, I will take that one and work that and get right back to you. So don't leave, we'll connect before you leave. Okay.
I was a Black Forest resident for 40 days. I lost everything and I had no insurance. Is there any way or any programs of assisting people like me, you know, that have absolutely nothing left? Because I'm really just kind of just floating in the wind. You know, I didn't have any, so I'm just wondering, is there anything coming in from different states or, you know, from different communities that would help people that aren't insured?
Well, we definitely want to get your information. Again, we are waiting until we have our full presentation on Friday from our FEMA declaration and how that's going to flow down, and see whether or not some of the support agencies, what their roles, what they can do for people in your situation. So the best we can do right now is get your information, and we will contact you personally.
I'd also like to say to the people here, well, I've been here 40 days, but I organized this weekend, Sunday the 4th at La Forêt, a full music benefit, free for everybody here in the forest just to come down. I got 8 bands playing and kids' toys and games and all kinds of refreshments and everything and food. And please come down and let's have a good time and let's just smile. So
thank you for doing
you're a
that.
great community. So
Commissioner Glenn. Down here.
Oh.
For the gentleman, I was just wondering if the gentleman had contacted the Southern Baptist groups. Okay, for other people's information, I know they're trying to help specifically people who are uninsured who need immediate help. So that may be a good place to check.
The Southern Baptist.
Yep.
Can you restate that? You said Southern Baptist
It's
Church?
the Southern Baptist Recovery Services, and they're staging out of the Black Forest Baptist Church on Black Forest Road.
A heartfelt thanks for organizing this upcoming event, and I appreciate the sentiment there very, very much. Sir.
Refer to gentleman too. The Salvation Army is prepared to help, and I have indications from that organization that they're willing to extend help to people that don't have an insurance or anything like that. And if you want to get his name, and I'll have a contact with them. Salvation Army people.
We have time for one more question, and if there are other questions that are out there, please make sure that we collect those, pass them to the aisle. Denise will go ahead and collect those, and we will actually log them in and make sure that we get back to you. But we do have time for one last question.
My name is Ken Carroll, and I represent Homeowners Association, which we were luckily spared. We're on the east side of Meridian. But I just wanted to kind of sow the seed for whatever type of money is coming into the county, of what available funds are. Our specific situation is that we have 50 homes. Everybody has 2 to 8 acres, and then we have about almost 100 acres of common area. And we can go out and we can create a lot of, we can mitigate within a few hours a very large amount of pine needles / trees but the disposal is really time consuming, and it's very expensive if we're not able to get it to the slash site. So I would like, when things kind of calm down a little bit, to see if there is some sort of pickup service or something to help those of us who are, and the whole, the whole Black Forest is a whole bunch of property owners, to make us more efficient at getting rid of the slash and the pine needles, besides what we have at the herring site.
Okay, thank you very much.
So just idea.
And Denise, can you stand and wave your hand? Because if there are still questions that are out there and you've written it on a card, please make sure that she receives that. Also, if you remember back to the beginning of our presentation, if you have online capability, you can go to our Black Forest Assistance page, click on Ask a Question, submit your question that way. You can also call 444-8301 and call any question, and I am always available 24/7 these days for any questions relating to the fire. So on a closing note, we are going to have these meetings on a monthly basis. Our next meeting will be August 28th. Location, we're trying to determine what is the best location for everybody, but we're trying to stay as close to the forest as we can. But again, I want to thank everybody for participating in this process. If you would like personal emails with regard to updates, let us know. Denise will collect that information too. But I just want to make sure you understand that we are in this for the long haul, and together we will work to make sure that we definitely recover, restore, and rebuild this community. So I just want to thank everybody very much, and have a blessed evening.